So there's been some new drama regarding an old DLC of Minecraft and the educational DLC, so called. And the drama is basically because the person who said it was a employed VTuber, and they're not allowed to say things like that. So it's like a rare event. It's like a blood moon or something. It's so everyone's up in arms about it, and so am I. Minecraft's educational DLC, Good Trouble. It's just another in a long list of attempts to brainwash kids into being the foot soldiers of future generations, with this particular attempt coming from the left wing. It came out in 2020, but the temperature back then was quite a bit lower than it is now, even though the purpose of when it was made, it was still obviously to brainwash kids into being Democrats. Now, the temperature is raised in 2026 to the point where it's clear that teaching kids about being good troublemakers of the past has become the bad trouble of the now. Rather fitting, I suppose. I can't say the intent of it in 2020 was innocent. I mean, it was developed in support by something called teaching tolerance. That speaks for itself, as does the intent of teaching elementary schoolers about prejudice, which is not something they are prepared to process, making the experience just like informing a small child of religion or LGBTQ. It's not teaching, it's grooming. The official tweet reads, "Want to change the world IRL? Start in Minecraft. In the free Good Trouble DLC, explore global civil rights movements, meet changemakers, and learn how to stand up, speak out, and build a better world." Mind you, the better world those people mentioned is the one we currently live in. A world where women can say, wear, and do anything, even if it involves stripping, even if it involves doing that on a safe for work website or in public in front of children, and in doing so they become rich and famous. It's a world where a black person can become the leader of the most powerful country in the world, a country that is alleged by Democrats to be controlled by white supremacists, and yet both extremes of the political party stopped bashing on any black person, and instead they bash on two old white guys. Well, one's technically an old orange guy, but you get the point. It's a world where foreign religions have protective charms to defend them, like anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, but the white people's religion of the West, of this country, has no such protective charm, and it's called pure evil, despite being the tamest of the three. And yet, despite living in this world, Democrats whine incessantly about how their country is the worst country that's ever been or ever will be, and how it's full of evil white Christians. So, why are Democrats teaching kids how to make this world when Democrats seem to hate this world? Almost like they can't be satisfied. And they can't be satisfied because, let's be honest, they're already full. They live in total luxury with no problems, which is why they cite iconic names of the past. They fetishize their heroes, these activists of good trouble, who are now long dead because the current Democrats have nothing to fight for. They have imagined an enemy and teach their children to be like dead people from an era of oppression which no longer exists. Tell me, if the world is so bad now, then why is it that these people cannot cite their own names? Do they not have their own activists? They speak instead of Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, Nelson Mandela, Anne Frank. Why not living people? Why not living Democrats? Gee, could it be because there is nothing real for Democrats to protest anymore? They instead tell their kids ghost stories about Christopher Columbus and Robert E. Lee. Meanwhile, California is ranked 48th out of 50 for the USA's IQ. Maybe you should focus on leering English instead of leering how to be anti-white misandrists. Speaking of leering, it's free. People inexplicably think this is some sort of argument in favor of the Minecraft DLC existing, and they say that you aren't forced to play it, but even if it had a price tag, you wouldn't be forced to play it. Furthermore, kids don't have money. Free means that it's likely made for kids, don't you think? Which it obviously is because it's metaphorically sold as a powerful educational experience. It is yet another attack on the education system, as I suspect parents teaching their children about morality is just too much effort, or maybe it's not effective enough conditioning on its own, so they need to institutionalize it. It's a dangerous thing as well, as even though this came out in
2020.
even in
2020.
children were mentally toast. Everyone is increasingly aware of the sheer cliff drop-off of intelligence, social skills, and problem-solving capabilities of American children, meaning that stupid people will see Minecraft as an innocent game that could be used as a teaching tool that kids will enjoy, which is exactly what the insidious intent of this is. It also comes at a time when it's okay to call white people evil, except unlike normal racism, they are tying this to an entire political party, attempting to brand political ideals they dislike as racist. And the problem with educational gaming is the technicalities and stupid people. Stupid people will see it as technically viable, stating that their dumbass TikTok obsessed students and children can't learn in the way that everyone else in the entire history of the world has. But it's too much work to recreate every important aspect, every nuance of an activist movement, especially because concepts like slavery or voting took place over the span of centuries, perhaps even the entire history of the country. It would bore children to tears, and children being bored is the entire reason they are gamifying schooling. Well, more accurately, them being cooked on TikTok and such is the reason. Instead of really teaching them history, they're going to be teaching them snapshot history. You can't show people a specific event without them jumping to conclusions. I again point to this Reddit thread where the words immigration court are literally written on the wall, and yet tens of thousands of people upvoted it because the thread title states that ICE was breaking into a school to kidnap children. They didn't pay attention to the video, they just read the Reddit title. Kids will not learn history in Minecraft. They will learn that white people and men are evil, and the comments claiming this is about global civil rights? That's absurd. Ask any of these people about a global civil rights movement that happened in some different country and see what they say. See if they even have an answer, but besides World War II. They aren't teaching kids about radioactive American history, the things that Democrats use as gotchas, because they actually care about teaching ethics. Any decent person knows that. They're teaching them this because they don't care about ethics, because they want to brainwash them into being good little foot soldiers. This is why creating an official DLC for alleged educational purposes is something that I think should be banned by the government, but instead it seems in a twisted sort of way endorsed by it. They have a title of this DLC as Good Trouble, which is an older quote, but recently it's been reignited by Minnesotan Governor Tim Walz, telling people to peacefully protest the deportation of illegal immigrants, which is already insane, while simultaneously telling them to start good trouble. And if the civilians are good, that of course means the government is bad. It's not some riddle to decipher. He was telling civilians to fight the government, and Minecraft is brainwashing children to do the same, and also to make them racist against whites and sexist against males. I would also point out that if they are oblivious to the backlash of doing this, it would suggest that they aren't fit to teach. And if they knew they'd get backlash, it proves that all the more. Teaching basic education never needs to be controversial. It's only controversial as a result of people who have an abnormal concept of normality and cannot determine what a child should learn. So, on to the drama slop fallout of this, which is the only entertaining part, as the Minecraft DLC is a dismal reminder of how bleak our society is, and the term fallout is important in this society where peasants play at nobility, treating every word as life or death in the game of no aristocracy. Jelly Hoshiumi of Face Connect, they made the most controversial comments. Not because they were controversial, but because she's a corpotuber and isn't allowed to chime in on such things. Unsurprisingly, they have been deleted, presumably by management rather than Jelly herself, and the company has apologized. Now, it should be obvious, based on what I've already said, that I agree with her entirely, but I don't think Jelly should have said this in her position due to how politics has become so hyperbolic that saying, I don't think Minecraft should be used to teach kids about slavery is, for some reason, a major stickling point to a lot of people. The fact is that she, as an employee, has to watch her mouth, and that's something that she agreed on when she signed her name. I also don't blame FaZe for wanting it redacted, but what's surprising is that their wording for their apology is remarkably poor. In fact, I need to remark on it, as they apologized, whilst also branding her, Hoshiumi Jelly, their own employee, as a hateful, racist bigot in their generic, we have no tolerance for apology. Now, whether the apology is heartfelt or fake doesn't change the fact that apologizing for being correct is part of what made the world the hell it currently is. And Jelly, even though she shouldn't have said that on a corporate account, was correct. FaZe, to me, doesn't seem big enough to be railroading their employees like this. If just a couple of their bigger streamers were to dip as a result of some drama, then the whole ship would probably sink. Other groups have had mass exoduses before, it's not unheard of. Managing small groups is a very difficult thing to do. Cliques form, and the slightest gust or tremor can knock over a domino. Anyone who's ever been in a guild in an MMO knows that this balance is delicate. Even people who aren't upset at management might read the signs and jump ship looking for greener pastures. Of course, I totally understand this is a company. and they have to be very careful with their appearance, especially top-level tweets on social media sites, as opposed to some random comment halfway through a 6-hour stream. But I don't think this was anything severe enough to warrant an apology. And I'm not saying that in a this is just streamer drama, never apologize because when you apologize you lose sort of tone. I think they should have told their talents to keep silent and never speak of it again. And if they wanted to reprimand Jelly, then to do so behind the scenes. But in their apology, they made the company appear worse. Leftists wouldn't have forgiven you anyway. We all know that. This isn't even enough to measure as a PR scandal, really, considering everything else that FaZe does or any of these companies do. And yet their response has likely irritated some of their own employees, and it's definitely rustled the jimmies of a lot of the fans. And even people who don't watch FaZe Connect are going to be irritated by this. It felt to me like that video of the person trying to ram another car in front of an oncoming train. I read the apology thinking, why? Knowing that I would never get an answer. The other option, of course, is to rewrite the contracts and change FaZe into a political VTuber company, which, in my opinion, is the only way to actually get out from under the shadow of Hololive and grow as a company, especially because VTubing isn't something that requires a company, and AI is making them increasingly meaningless, but that's besides the point. All Jelly said was that an apolitical game should stay apolitical. Maybe it was engagement enragement, or maybe not. But she stated that she wasn't really taking a side, and she simply wanted Minecraft to stay apolitical. And that's very important context. Everyone else, including the developers and owners of the DLC and Minecraft, all the people who got mad about it, they were the ones making it political. Even her own company, in their apology, made it political. She wasn't. She was only being honest, which is very refreshing considering the current state of the internet, and even more so because she's a corpo tuber, and you frankly, you just can't trust anything they say. Now, it's not political to say something apolitical should stay apolitical. It's like saying a trans person isn't genetically the opposite gender. That's simply a factual truth, and the only way it could be construed as political is dependent upon the reason someone said it. So, what is the intent of someone saying that Minecraft should be apolitical? Well, it's either to farm enragement engagement, or it's because you hate the left wing, or it's because it's a video game with countless child fans and it's not a suitable vector for teaching. I'm going to pick number 3, but many would believe it's number 2. They get angry because saying it should be apolitical means, to them, that you refute their politics. So saying it shouldn't be political is an attack to them, because Minecraft has already been made political. This came out in 2020, so they've laid claim to it. They've staked their flag, and now this is an affront to them, apparently. And this is because they think it's a good thing to use Minecraft to brainwash kids. So as a result, they attacked Jelly. They called her racist. They post out-of-context pictures that she's highlighting certain parts of her face in a VTuber program that darkens it or whatever and says that it's blackface, but in reality you just have to draw VTuber models in a certain way, like the lips and the mouth and the eyes are all separate from the face. So if you were to highlight the face and it goes black, it's not going to highlight the eyes or the mouth, and people just make up this accusation that it's blackface. They attacked her coworkers, smearing them with lies. They took a clip of Kaneko Lumi out of context, 2 seconds of a clip, where you can clearly hear from the full context that she is just weirdly pronouncing the word degree, and it does sound, in out of context, it sounds like the N-word, but she's just pronouncing degree weirdly. They attacked her company. They attacked other VTubers. They even attacked all white people when they said that she was racist for opposing this Minecraft thing. It's so bizarre because apparently she's Canadian, and allegedly she's not even white. I mean, I have no idea, but all of their attacks are the fallout of an innocuous comment about how an apolitical game for kids shouldn't have politics ramrodded into it. Pipkin Pippa is also in FaZe, and is rather infamous for being allegedly edgy.
Chat, this is gonna sound bad, but there's like the bad kind of racist. Peanut. So, chat, you like saying slurs? She's gone now. You're free to say whatever you'd like. I'm gonna fucking shoot up a Walmart! In Minecraft.
So it must mean that she's a Republican, right? Right? Well, of course. I know these tiny tidbits about the fictional person Pipkin Pippa, and therefore I know everything about them. This is the danger of running with scissors. For all I actually know, Pippa, or anyone else in phase, is a hyper-democrat grifting right-wingisms.
I'm not flying a banner for anybody to fucking fight under. And I get so many people that are like, oh, you used to be better when you were like this. And it's like, I was never like that. You just thought I was like that because you watched some clips.
The entirety of FaZe Connect dips their toes in the boys rule, girls drool, trad wives are cool rhetoric as much as they are allowed. But you can't take a corpo's word for it because they sold their free speech and were ball-gagged by their boss, as evidenced by the outcome of this. It may even be part of their contract that they do have to lightly cater to the right wing in how they act. More evidence comes as a result of the people defending Jelly who attacked FaZe's approach to the comments of another employee, Kaminari Clara, who said extreme leftist things on her personal account, and by FaZe's approach, I mean that they did nothing to her. At the time. Now, to be fair, these seem to be on her personal account, and that shouldn't be assailable by the company, but less than a week after the Jelly drama, FaZe announced Clara's graduation. Well, she said this was planned beforehand, and while I don't watch Clara, it seems like she doesn't stream much, so it's believable that she actually did intend to quit FaZe beforehand, but the timing is rather impeccable. And this all exposes the dangers of viewers attaching themselves to employed entertainers, whose opinions are not their own, and they may, in reality, be someone that you wouldn't give money to. The dangers of employees attaching themselves to a company that hired them as an expendable burn card which can be sacrificed to cleanse political buildup, and the dangers to and of everyone allowing politics to make up the majority of their personality. You can only meter your own parasocial attachment and your own trained hatred to ensure that you do not go too far. It's important to question what someone actually said, so as to not let baseless conclusions control your beliefs, like assuming someone is a right-winger just because they're in FaZe, when Clara clearly wasn't. So what did Jelly actually say? She wanted an apolitical game to remain apolitical, and simply because she didn't want American politics to be taught in Minecraft, she was called a Confederate slaver. People say she's not white, and not American. For all I know, she's a misandrist Democrat. That's not what's on the table right now. So I don't care. What I care about is the utterly insane social and legal response to someone opposing a child's game being reappropriated for political purposes. Maybe it's just me, but I say this seems like overkill. Anyway, I ranted about this longer than I meant to. Sorry, and thanks for watching.